Listen to the wind. It talks. Listen to the silence. It speaks. Listen to your heart. It knows. It's the dead of winter, and in full force. It has no intentions of letting go of its firm grasp over the landscape. Combined with freezing cold temps, icy winds, and blanketing snowfalls, it is a test of endurance for all kinds of life. Only the strongest plants and creatures will emerge this spring, and those who fall asleep forever will complete the cycle of life. They will return to the earth once again, and their energy will be manifested in those who've survived, just as those that came before them. The energy and spirit of those will forever live on as life moves in a timeline of perpetual forward momentum. The harshness of winter can be a difficult time to draw inspiration in one's life, leading many into despair. But peace of mind is not often handed out, rather instead rewarded to those who are seeking it. Inspiration exists here all the time and all around us. Yet many often overlook the obvious gifts nature has provided for us to discover. We must begin to take responsibility and return to our senses.
I often find that at this time of year that I go through a change with the season as well. Many in this climate find this time of year dull and boring, and I can't say that I disagree with them because it certainly can be. But at least for me, this is the time where I could shut down and restart my mind to begin with a clean slate. During the busy warm season, my creativity works overtime, and as much as I love what I do, it can be very mentally taxing at times. In the climates where warmth is year-round, it's much easier for a designer to pace their workloads because they have all 12 months to get the job done. Here, I can only work on average of about 7 or 8 months at a time. I have to cram that workload into a full-blown sprint because once spring warmth comes, the countdown to winter begins. Throw in any curveballs like late warm weather starts, late early season freezes, bad summer weather, and time becomes considerably less. So for me, I have to take a step back for a bit. This doesn't mean that I just simply disappear either. I have to find ways to reconnect to my surroundings so I can continue to be grounded. Essentially, this is how I lay the foundation for my creativity in the upcoming season. My mental health is very important to me. It is my sanctuary.
It is crisp and unbearably cold outside. The ground is hard as rock, frozen over the next few months. There are little signs of life. Most birds have flown south for the winter, and many animals are hunkered down in shelter. The well of inspiration has run dry. It is easy to be mentally consumed by the isolation of this landscape, but to those who live for visions of spring, perseverance is a must.
The condensation blasts out my nostrils like an angry bull. In this climate, work comes to a close for the cold season, which in some ways provides me with an outlet to decompress and recharge my batteries. Like many people, my life is purpose-driven, and I must keep moving. Stagnation is like a toxic downfall to my overall health, physically and mentally. One of my main tasks that keeps me going is helping on the farm to care for 9 amazing horses. Each of them has their own unique personality, and the trust you've worked to earn from them lets you know that you've created a special bond. Since the beginning of time, there may not be a better symbol of bonding than a man and his horse. When taking to them, my creativity starts to percolate. Each of their colors unique, from their face to their body, their tails, and their socks. The shades of their coat blend in gradients like dunes in the desert, or contrast sharply like day and night. Within their coats, I begin to find inspiration, and this helps to shape my future designs. Chestnut-colored reds and browns blend in long flowing swoops. Coats of steel gray with a darker palette reminds me of hardscaping as the color tones swoop across their muscular frames. When I turn the horses out to their paddocks and they begin to mingle, I can see the layers of a landscape design within their coats. As they canter, I'm drawn to the near perfection of their muscular physiques, reminding me of the graceful shapes of planting areas. Come spring and summer, the land begins to change and the grasses and flowers begin to return, adding more inspiration to my work. Even if one doesn't have an artistic background to relate to these observations, one can absolutely be inspired by the beauty of these animals. Inspiration can be found here too.
In the northwestern portions of Connecticut, along the Housatonic River Valley, this winter landscape provides a generous dose of much-needed life. Not far from the legendary Cathedral Pines Preserve in this particular area, Tim begins to absorb the landscape, becoming an embodiment of his surroundings. With a winding river filled with glass-like water to whitewater rapids, to forests filled with centurion pines, hemlocks, and spruces, there is a sense of purity that can only be found with this collaboration that nature has to offer. It is truly a shared space amongst the giants.
Even for me, at this time of year, with a lack of creative inspiration, it can be difficult not to fall into the early stages of despair. It's a constant balancing act of conscious and subconscious feelings that are constantly in motion. The more I begin to lack inspiration, the more I begin to deteriorate, first mentally and then physically. When we choose to not be surrounded by our human luxuries, we begin to be stripped of our superficial mindsets. This transition is like an awakening of your senses, frightening to some, while others find it epiphanic. It's the state of mind where your inner core regains the helm of your functions and set you free from the prison of life stresses that have bound upon it. When we become aware of our surroundings, we then begin to repair and reconnect. This is where we begin to find the simple joy of life in magnitudes. We are now mentally available to draw inspiration from our surroundings. When I'm out of balance and need to take a step back, I'll usually visit one of a few special places that never fail to keep me grounded. I start to feel grateful as I begin to immerse myself, sharing this space with nature's spirit. The forest floor is covered in fallen pine needles like a warm blanket, shielding from the snow and other elements. The bark of these massive pines reveal deep ridges like a map of canyons and extend onward, far into the sky. The cluster of pines growing so close to one another creates an enormous canopy over the entire forest, providing coverage for the smaller hemlocks below, eagerly waiting to reach the top. The variation of foliage or needles of these gigantic conifers provides a forest soundtrack. Like the needle of a turntable playing a record, the needles of the trees play the wind, a forever song of sibilance as wind rushes through them. For those willing to listen, the wind song provides relief of pressure and grounding clarity. My senses awaken and become fully stimulated, ready with awareness. As I begin to feel inspired, I start to brainstorm the creation of possible landscapes that I could offer to those who want to work with me. How can I create this feeling of embracement with one's surroundings? What can I add to a design that will trigger this auditory serenity? What lines, edges, and spaces can I make flow like the winding river? How can I incorporate these elements into my designs? This place is my serenity. It is my sanctuary. And so I'll continue to incorporate these experiences into my landscape design work. I'll begin to play with these designs, manipulating shapes to create flowing boundaries and sounds that offer stimulating visual and auditory experiences. What, where, and how can I incorporate these experiences so that others can feel what I feel when I'm at peace with nature's surroundings? Within the last generation, deteriorating mental health has been considered one of the leading issues we are faced with in our time. More than ever, many people of all age groups are currently struggling for an exhaustive amount of reasons. Some will choose to seek help, while others are left to face this giant alone. I am in and out of balance at times, but I feel for those who can't dig out of despair, and through my work, I hope to inspire those seeking something else, something greater. I believe that life is a one-time-around gift, savoring every moment that I can, knowing that as each second passes, it's over forever. Just another memory, somewhere in time. This is the way I live my life, continuously wandering in search of, but far from being lost. In a quest for achieving connection to our human senses, we begin to become free, and that is the experience of fulfilling our soul with the joy of embodying nature's spirit.
Inspiration is here. It's all around us. It exists in the trees, the water, the land, and the creatures that inhabit it. In a world where many luxuries are unattainable to most, the earth provides everything we need. Nature is a complex entity, but the gifts it offers are simply unique. The more we can share in the joys of our surroundings, the more inspired we become, and therefore we are motivated to create. This is how an artist shares their work. This is the story of Tim Justin.